Most of us are operating under a financial map that's 50 years out of date. We navigate by landmarks that no longer exist: the guaranteed pension, the single-income household, the job for life, believing they still mark the path to a secure middle-class life. The result isn't just a gap between rich and poor. It's a fundamental migration of economic gravity, pulling the very foundation of that life into two distinct orbits. The middle class hasn't shrunk. Its traditional engine has been disassembled. This video isn't about charts you've seen before. It's about understanding the new economic machine we're all inside, identifying the single lever that still connects effort to outcome, and learning how to recalibrate your position within it from passenger to operator. To see the machine, let's look at its output through two neighbors. Ben and Clara both live on the same street, earn solid $85,000 salaries, and work just as hard. For the first decade of their careers, their financial lives looked nearly identical, but their financial architectures were built on entirely different blueprints. Ben's strategy was motion. He upgraded his lifestyle with each raise, leased a nicer car, took premium vacations on credit, and saw his paycheck as fuel for immediate living. His money was a consumable resource. Clara, however, treated a portion of her income as a permanent asset. She automated a 15% transfer into a simple, low-cost index fund with every single paycheck, living on the remainder as if that money never arrived. The divergence point wasn't effort or salary. It was the assignment of function. This is the critical shift. In the old machine, your job income was the primary generator of wealth. In the new one, your job income is merely the raw material. The actual generator of wealth is a separate, silent entity you must consciously construct and fuel: your capital core. Ben spent his raw material. Clara used hers to build and activate a core. For 5 years, the difference seemed academic: a few missed vacations versus a brokerage account balance that felt theoretical. But the machine respects physics, not feelings. Let's attach numbers to this force. Assume both started at 25 with nothing. By 35, after 10 years of earning, Ben has a nicer car, more gadgets, and memories of great trips. His net worth, beyond some home equity, is close to zero. Clara's automated 15%, about $1,000 a month, went into her capital core. Assuming a conservative 7% annual average return, her core isn't just savings. It's a system that has begun manufacturing wealth independently. That $1,000 a month for 10 years grows to roughly $180,000. But here's where the machine's real mechanism engages. Over $50,000 of that total is pure growth, manufactured not by her labor, but by the core itself. Her job earned the salary. Her core is now earning its own salary. This is the irreversible math that widens orbits. The machine doesn't care about your spending. It only compounds what you assign to production. At 35, Ben's financial architecture is still 100% reliant on the next paycheck. A single break in employment resets his entire economy to zero. Clara's architecture now has a productive floor. Her core generates enough capital growth each year to cover months of essential expenses without her lifting a finger. This isn't about being rich. It's about installing a secondary engine. The middle-class model had one engine: your labor. The new model requires two to avoid falling behind: your labor and your capital core. One is vulnerable to interruption. The other, once built, grows more resilient with time. The terrifying part isn't the gap at age 35. It's the geometric separation that happens when you fast forward. Because the machine never sleeps, and its output is not linear. Let's project forward just one more decade. At 35, Ben has a revelation. He sees the gap, feels the anxiety, and decides to start saving that same $1,000 a month. He commits. Clara simply continues her automated plan, never increasing her contribution. They both contribute the same total new capital from age 35 to 45, $120,000. But the machine doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards time and accumulated mass. At 45, Ben's diligent new account, after 10 years of growth, would be worth about $180,000. A fantastic effort. Yet Clara's core, which now has 20 years of fuel and compounding behind it, wouldn't be at $360,000. That would be simple addition. It would be worth over $500,000. The leverage of her decade-long head start isn't a lead. It's a different class of financial vehicle. Her earlier capital wasn't just sitting there. It was promoted from raw material to permanent worker inside the core. This is the irreversible promotion that changes economic destiny. In the new machine, capital isn't just money. It's a permanent employee you hire, a worker that clocks in 24/7, never takes a sick day, and whose output gets reinvested to hire more workers. Ben, for his first decade, hired 0 permanent employees. He was a one-person operation. Clara used a fraction of her raw material to start hiring. Now, at 45, she has a small, tireless workforce generating a second income stream. Ben is just starting to interview his first candidates. The gap isn't a gap. It's a difference in organizational structure. This is why the old middle-class path feels like running in place. You're using a solo operator model in an economy that rewards multi-employee enterprises. Your labor alone cannot compete with labor plus a fully staffed capital core. The feeling of disappearance isn't about income brackets. It's about which of these two architectures you're funding. The psychological trap is that building the core feels like deprivation. It registers as a loss of lifestyle today, but the machine's ledger logs it differently. Every dollar assigned to immediate consumption is logged as a one-time event, a terminal transaction. Every dollar assigned to the core is logged as a permanent hire. This is the mental reframe that changes everything. You are not spending or saving. You are allocating raw material between terminal consumption and permanent production. The middle class thrived when a single job could fund a comfortable life and still leave surplus for the future. That surplus was optional. In the new architecture, directing raw material to your core isn't a matter of frugality for a future reward. It's a non-negotiable operational cost for staying in the game. You are the chief executive of your own economic entity. Your first mandatory operating expense is funding your production floor. So how do you start when the machine seems rigged? You bypass the feeling of scale and engage the mechanism of process. You don't need a windfall. You need a protocol. This is the Founder's Protocol, and it has only 3 non-negotiable directives. Directive 1. Designate the core. This is a separate, untouchable account, a brokerage account for investing, not a savings account for emergencies. Its sole purpose is production. Directive 2. Automate the capital transfer. Before your paycheck even lands in your spending account, set a rule. 10%, 8%, 5%, any percentage that feels invisible, is automatically routed to your core. You are not paying yourself first. You are paying your first employee. You fund production before you fund consumption. This automation is what transforms intention into architecture. It makes your core a fixed cost, not a flexible choice. Directive 3. Standardize the production asset. Inside your core, you don't pick stocks or time the market. You purchase a single, diversified asset that represents ownership in the entire productive machine. A low-cost S&P 500 index fund like VOO or SPY. This isn't a stock pick. It's hiring a manager who goes out and hires all the workers for you. You are buying the whole factory, not betting on one assembly line. With these 3 directives, you have, within 1 hour, installed the secondary engine. You have begun migrating from a 1-engine model to the 2-engine model required by the new economic machine. The gap between the orbits isn't created by secret knowledge or insane risk. It's created by the consistent operation of this protocol. Your wealth is no longer a singular event to be chased. It's a byproduct of a system you keep online. Let's make this concrete with a final, powerful contrast. Imagine 2 friends, Matteo and Chloe. Both are 30, make $70,000, and feel the pressure of rising costs. Matteo hears the common advice: cut back on coffee, eat out less, find extra cash to save. He tries, saves a few hundred a month inconsistently, and feels deprived. The math feels punishing. Chloe implements the Founder's Protocol. She designates a core account, sets up an automatic transfer of 12% of her take-home pay, about $400 a month, into it, and buys a slice of the total market. She doesn't feel deprived because she never sees the money. She just manages her life on the remaining 88%. The machine does the rest. In 30 years, at age 60, Matteo's inconsistent efforts might have accumulated $150,000 if he stuck with it, a sum that feels dangerously thin. Chloe's automated core, with that $400 monthly, would have grown to over $600,000. But the real magic isn't in the final number. It's in the shift of economic identity that happens around year 15. Because around year 15, Chloe's core begins generating more in annual growth than her annual contributions. Her permanent employees are now producing enough new capital to hire more employees all on their own. Her labor is no longer the sole source of fuel for the enterprise. This is the tipping point, the moment your architecture becomes self-reinforcing. This is the exact point the traditional middle-class model fails to reach, because it never builds a production floor with enough capacity. The goal isn't to become a billionaire. It's to reach this tipping point where your money's labor matches and then exceeds your own. That is the modern definition of security. That is the new middle class, not an income level, but an economic structure. You are not being left behind by a system. You are being invited to understand its operating manual. The disappearance you feel is the ghost of an old blueprint. The new landscape isn't a barren field. It's a complex factory where everyone has the tools to claim a production line. The inequality we see is the visible output of two different operational modes running side by side: consumption versus production, terminal spending versus permanent hiring. You hold the switch. The founder's protocol is that switch. It takes your raw material, your hard-earned labor, and begins the irreversible process of promotion, transforming it from a consumable into a producer. Start not with what you think you can save, but with the minimum viable percentage you can assign to construction. Automate it. Standardize it. Then, go live your life. Let the machine you've activated within the larger machine do its silent, relentless work. Your economic future is no longer a question of luck or labor alone. It is a function of the architecture you commission today. Build the core.
The single best financial decision you can make right now? Invest in your financial education. Hit subscribe to get our next breakdown and turn on notifications so you don't miss out, because the system only works if you apply it consistently. I'll see you in the next one.